Hey guys, so here's part 2 of this piecewise function introduction notes. We are actually going to go back, this should be review to Algebra 1 stuff of writing the equation of a line. I want to go back to this because later on in this unit we are going to be writing piecewise functions, and with writing it's going to be dealing with linear equations. Okay, let's look, first let's talk about, as we did with the graphing, what is the general form of a linear equation? Well, we're going to use the y equals mx plus b form, okay? So here, what we're going to do for example 1, let's figure out the slope and the y-intercept. Then we can just plug it into our equation, and that's it, okay? Okay, first let's figure out the slope. Now notice, this looks a little bit different, right? Usually when we see linear equations, they're diagonal. Here, it's horizontal. So because it's horizontal, it means that we don't really rise any, right? So if we don't rise, that means that's going to be a 0. We do nothing. We do go over to either the right or left by 1. But anytime we do 0 divided by a number, well, that's just going to be 0. So in this case, our slope is going to be 0, okay? Well, let's look at the y-intercept. Remember, the y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. Okay, so if I look at my y-axis, I can see that this graph crosses 1, 2 at 3. Okay, so my b value is going to be 3. Now, how can I write this? Well, we could write it. So remember, m is 0, x, we keep it as x, and then b is 3. But there's another way we can write this. Instead of having 0x, we know 0 times anything will just give us 0. So what we can do to write it is just write it as y equals 3. Okay? So anytime you see y equals a number, that is what we call our constant. So our constant is just this number. And that means we're going to have a horizontal line. Okay? So anytime we have y equals a number, it's always going to be a horizontal line. Okay, let's try example 2 here. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. We are going to determine the slope and the y-intercept. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and find the y-intercept first, because from there I can maybe find the slope. Okay. Really, to find the slope, just choose 2 points that you see on your graph to do so. Okay, so let's look at where the graph crosses the y-axis. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my b value is going to be 6. Okay, let me go ahead and figure out the slope. So to go to a next point like here, it looks like I go up 1, 2, 3, and then I go over to the right one. So that means we can do 3 over 1, or to simplify it, which we want to do that, it's going to be 3. Okay, so now plugging our slope and the y-intercept into there, we just write our equation. So it's going to be y equals 3x plus 6. That will be our answer there. Okay, so the next 2 examples, what I would like you guys to do is go ahead and pause the video and then try these on your own. Okay, hopefully you paused the video and you tried these out. Let's go ahead and see what you got here. So we got slope and we got the y-intercept. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and find the y-intercept first. Remember, that is where the graph crosses the y-axis. So I'm going to put a point there, a little bit easier for me to see, of 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to be 4. Now, from that, I'm going to go ahead and count. Okay, remember, all you have to do to find the slope is find 2 points that are on the line and then count. That's all you got to do. So it looks like I have to go up 1, 2, over 1, 2, 3 to go to the next one. Let me just check that one more time. So it looks like I go up 2, and then I go to the right 3. So up 2, that's going to be positive, and then I go over to the right 3, that's also positive. So my slope is 2/3. Okay. Now make sure when you are figuring out your slope that it matches your graph. So if your graph is moving upwards, like if you're reading this graph left to right, just like if you read a book, if it looks like you're going up the hill, your slope should be positive, okay? If it looks like you're going down a hill, that's when your slope should be negative. So be careful with that. Okay, plugging those in, I'm just going to write it up here. We have y equals 2/3 x plus 4. And that'll be our answer here. Okay, let's try our last one. So once again, we're going to do the same thing. Figure out slope, the y-intercept. Okay, y-intercept. I'm going to plot the points so I know. Looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm at 5. Okay, let's figure out the slope. So I'm going to find another point or points that are on the graph and kind of count. So it looks like we go down 1 to the right 2. Down 1 to the right 2. So down means we're going to have something negative. So that's going to be a -1 because I'm going down. But if I go to the right, that means I'm going to have something positive. So that's going to be 2. So in this case, my slope is -1/2. And that looks like that works because notice if we're reading this graph left to right, we can see that this line is going downwards, like you're going down the hill. So since it's going downwards, this should have a negative in front of it representing a negative slope, okay? Please do not forget, down means negative and left means negative. When you're doing the slope for up, that means positive, and to the right also means positive, okay? So all of that represented slope. So let me go ahead and finish this example off. Please, when you are writing the equation, don't forget your y equals. You need that. Otherwise, it's not an equation, and it's wrong, okay? So make sure you have that y equals. So my slope is -1/2 x, and then I have 5 as my y-intercept. Okay. If you have any questions, make sure you contact me. Remember, that can be either through email or Google Meet. Okay, see you guys later.